The purple bag was empty when they found it, but the cameras showed it full. How does something disappear while being watched by a dozen eyes? This is a story about erasure and the things we carry until we can't. Before we begin, tell me, night wanderer, where are you listening from tonight? London? New York? Somewhere? In between? And what hour holds you here? Midnight? 3 a.m.? Dawn's edge? Wherever you are, whenever this finds you, you've arrived at the perfect moment, because some mysteries belong to every shore, like the man with the purple bag, who disappeared while the world was watching. Now, let us walk together into his final days. You might think you know what it means to vanish, to slip away unnoticed, to become nobody. But what if I told you that in 2009, a man achieved something impossible? He erased himself while the world was watching. In the old country, they used to say, when someone dies without a name, their spirit walks the shoreline, searching for what they threw away. Maybe you felt that restlessness too, that weight of things you can't put down. Stay close tonight, because what happened in Sligo changes everything you think you know about disappearing. And by the end, you'll understand why some mysteries are meant to stay buried. I am the keeper of lost things, the one who watches over stories that refuse to rest. And this is the one that haunts me most. It begins with a ritual. Every morning, the same routine. Coffee at 7, newspaper folded twice, keys in the left pocket, always. Peter Bergmann, if that was ever his name, had rituals too. But his were different. His were about letting go. June 12th, 2009. The Sligo City Hotel. A man walks through glass doors carrying 2 black bags. Nothing unusual, except for what comes next. He pays in cash, gives an address that doesn't exist, signs a name that belongs to no one. The ink was fresh, but the man who wrote it was already a ghost. Notice what she doesn't say here. The desk clerk never asks for identification, against policy, against law, as if something whispered, "Don't look too close." Room 105, 3rd floor, a window facing the harbor where ships disappear into fog. He sets down his bags, pulls out a purple plastic carrier, and begins the strangest ritual anyone has ever recorded. The cameras see everything, every step, every turn, every careful movement. But they don't see what matters most. 13 times. 13 trips through those glass doors, each time carrying the purple bag, full. Each time returning empty-handed. Where does something go when it's watched by everyone? How do you dispose of a life in plain sight? The post office on Wine Street. Saturday morning, 10:49 a.m., 8 stamps, airmail stickers, letters to whom? This part, it always feels too quiet. He writes with careful hands, addresses that might be real, or might be lies. Final words to people who may never know he's gone. The purple bag grows lighter, day by day, trip by trip, as if he's feeding pieces of himself to the hungry streets of Sligo. But here's what the cameras couldn't capture. Here's what no one understood until it was too late. He wasn't just throwing things away. He was performing surgery, cutting away every thread that tied him to the world. If you've ever looked at something ordinary and felt like it was watching you, stay close. Because what Peter Bergmann was doing, what he was so carefully, methodically destroying, was evidence of a life that was already ending. The purple bag blinks in the afternoon light. Full, empty, full, empty, like a heartbeat, growing fainter. And when she touched the glass, it blinked. But that was only the first page. The taxi driver remembers the question. Where is a quiet beach for swimming? Not for walking, not for sitting, for swimming. In June in Ireland, in water cold enough to stop a heart. If you've ever asked for directions to your own ending, you know that wait. Ross's Point, 8 kilometers from the hotel, a crescent of sand where the Atlantic swallows secrets. He gets out of the taxi, stands for 15 minutes, watching the waves, measuring the distance, planning something. Then he gets back in, returns to the hotel as if he's seen what he needed to see. She doesn't answer right away. That silence, it changes everything. The reconnaissance is complete. The stage is set. All that remains is the final performance. But first, more rituals, more trips with the purple bag, more careful erasure of a man who was never supposed to exist. Sunday passes like a held breath. Monday arrives with the weight of endings. Late checkout requested. Some errands to run, he says. The last lie he'll ever tell. One final trip. The purple bag, fuller than ever. Heavy with the last pieces of Peter Bergmann. It's like when the phone rings and no one's there. The Quayside shopping center. He stands in the doorway. Minutes pass. People flow around him like water around a stone. What is he waiting for? What final permission does he need? The bus station cafe. 1:38 दोपहर. Cappuccino, ham and cheese sandwich. The last meal of a man with no name. From his pocket, pieces of paper. He reads them, studies them, then tears them in half. Into the bin they go. The final words of a final day, lost forever, like everything else. But that wasn't the most unsettling part. Stay with me, and I'll show you the truth. The bus to Ross's Point. Single ticket. Not return. Because some journeys only go one way. 2:20 p.m. departure. The last time anyone would see him board anything. The last time he would be a passenger. The purple bag sits beside him. Still full, still heavy, carrying the weight of what he couldn't leave behind. But here's what the investigation missed. Here's what they never understood. The bag wasn't just for disposal, it was for transformation. Each trip, each careful placement was changing him, lightening him, preparing him for what comes after wait. Ross's Point Beach, mid-afternoon. A man in a black leather jacket, walking on sand. 16 witnesses, 18 different accounts, all describing the same impossible thing. A ghost learning how to haunt. He paces back and forth, parallel to the water, like he's measuring the distance to forever. His trousers rolled up, shoes in his hand, bare feet, touching Irish sand. The window was never open, but the curtain moved. Hours pass. The sun begins its descent, and still he walks, back and forth. Some witnesses wave. He nods back. Small courtesies from a man saying goodbye. But notice what they all remember. The way he moved. Not like someone enjoying a beach, like someone rehearsing. Rehearsing for what? For the moment when walking becomes swimming. When swimming becomes sinking. When sinking becomes silence. The purple bag is nowhere to be seen. 11:50 p.m., high tide. The last witness sees him walking, not towards the car park, not towards the road, towards the water. That's Swallow's light. Have you ever felt like you were being watched in the quietest moments? Stay close. We'll explore that together. The Atlantic breathes in, outside, like a sleeping giant, waiting to wake. He stands at the edge, water lapping at his feet. The cold, sharp as a blade. In his pocket, aspirin he'll never take. On his body, clothes with no names. In his chest, a heart that's been breaking for months. She lights the candle, but never looks at it. That's what changed, I think. The medical examiner would later say, advanced prostate cancer, bone tumors, heart disease, pain that would make strong men weep, but no painkillers in his system, no medication, no relief, just the raw, grinding agony of a body eating itself. You remember the silence, the one from the bell tower. He chose this, chose to feel everything, chose to carry the full weight until the very end. Why? Because pain was the last thing that proved he existed, and he needed to exist, just long enough to stop existing. The water rises, ankle deep, knee deep, cold enough to shock. A failing heart. He wears swimming trunks, under his underwear, under his shirt, layers of preparation for a final dive. But the heart has its own plans. Cardiac arrest, not drowning, not surrender, just stopping. Like a clock that forgets to tick, the waves carry him back. Gentle, almost tender, as if the sea changed its mind. Have you ever wondered if this story is still unfolding somewhere? What if the mystery isn't over yet? Dawn finds him on the rocks. Arthur Kinsella and his son training for a triathlon. Instead, they find a mystery that will outlive them all. The purple bag is gone. The letters never traced. The name belongs to no one. Peter Bergmann never existed, but his absence fills every frame of footage. his silence, echoes in every unanswered question. The silence, the one from the bell tower. The investigation begins. With certainty. Fingerprints, DNA, dental records. Surely someone will claim this ghost. 5 months later, nothing. No matches, no family, no friends. As if he materialized, just to disappear. She closes the drawer with both hands this time. That's when I knew she was done searching. The Gardaí search, everywhere, bins, car parks, private gardens, looking for pieces. Of a man who left no pieces. Maybe you've done the same, held on even after it's gone. But here's what haunts me. Here's what keeps me awake in the small hours. He succeeded. Completely. Perfectly. He erased himself, so thoroughly that even death couldn't find his name. The hotel register lies. The address doesn't exist. The passport databases hold no record. Einstetten 15, Wien 4472. A vacant lot, an empty space, where a life should have been. Outside, the branches scrape the window. Steady, steady, they say in the old country. When someone dies without a name, their spirit walks the shoreline. But what if that's wrong? What if the walking comes before the dying? What if Peter Bergmann was already a spirit when he arrived? The purple bag carried more than belongings. It carried the weight of being someone. And with each trip, each disposal, he became lighter, less real, less there, less anything, until all that remained was the walking, the pacing, the measuring, the careful choreography of disappearance. Have you ever wondered if this story is still unfolding somewhere? What if the mystery isn't over yet? The cancer was real, the pain was real. But Peter Bergmann was a performance, a final role, played by a man who'd forgotten his real name. Or maybe he remembered it too well. Maybe that's what he was running from, not death, not pain, but the weight of being himself. The letters he posted, 8 stamps, airmail stickers, final words to people who knew his real name. I'm sorry, don't look for me. Remember me as I was. Words we'll never read, sent to addresses we'll never know, from a man who chose to be no one. After a particularly tense moment, insert a soft sound cue or subtle musical shift to break the tension. The funeral was attended by 6 people, 4 Gardaí, 2 officiants. No family, no friends, no one who knew his real name. An unmarked grave in Sligo Cemetery. The perfect ending to a perfect erasure. But graves don't hold ghosts, and Peter Bergmann was already haunting. This is the part I still think about. Not the bag, not the letters, just how quiet it got. They said it happened once before. In 1948, Australia, the Somerton Man. Another beach, another mystery, another name. That belonged to no one. It wasn't the first, and it wasn't the last. In Norway, 1970. The Isdal woman burned beyond recognition. Multiple identities, false names, the same careful erasure of self. As if there's something in the human spirit, something that occasionally rebels against being known, against being findable. The old fishermen of Sligo tell stories of ships that sail into fog and never return, of lights on the water that lead nowhere, of voices calling, names that don't exist. It wasn't the first, and it wasn't the last, but Peter Bergmann was different. He didn't disappear into mystery. He disappeared into documentation. Every step recorded, every movement catalogued. The most watched, unwatching. File number 29 from the Gardaí investigation. Inspector's note. No prints, but one breath mark on the glass. What glass? What breath? What final exhalation of being? The purple bag appears in the evidence photos. Empty, folded, forgotten, like a deflated balloon. But in the old stories, purple was the color of transformation, of things that change from one state to another, from being to unbeing. The Celtic monks wrote of purpura, the sacred color of endings, of souls preparing for departure. Did Peter Bergmann know? Did he choose purple for its meaning, or was it just what was available? The investigation files grow cold, the CCTV footage archived, the mystery unsolved. But in Sligo, they still talk. Hotel clerks, taxi drivers, witnesses. She used to walk with purpose. But tonight, she drifts. Maybe so should you. The purple bag was never found. Like everything else, it simply faded into the spaces between what we know and what we remember. Maybe you've heard it too, just before sleep, the sound of something being set down, the whisper of plastic against stone, the soft exhale of letting go. Ross's Point Beach still breathes. In, outside, in, outside, washing away footprints that were never really there. The hotel register still shows his name. Peter Bergmann, room 105, checked out, but never really left. But this mystery isn't over yet. You'll soon discover the hidden truth that historians have kept locked away for centuries, because here's what they don't tell you. Here's what the files never recorded. Sometimes, the greatest mystery isn't who someone was, it's who they chose not to be. Peter Bergmann succeeded. Completely. Perfectly. He became exactly what he wanted. Nobody, and in becoming nobody, he became everybody's ghost, every person who ever wanted to disappear, every soul who carried too much weight. The purple bag carries us all now, full of things we can't put down, heavy with names we can't forget. The Peter Bergmann case, Ireland 2009, the man who erased himself while the world was watching. His heart stopped in the cold Atlantic, but his silence echoes still in every unanswered question, in every empty space where a name should be. The waves remember his footsteps. The sand holds the shape of his pacing. The rocks, where they found him, still warm with mystery. Maybe you've heard it too, just before sleep. The sound of someone walking away, the whisper of water against stone, the soft exhale of a man who chose to be forgotten. But we remember. We carry his story, like he carried that purple bag, full of weight we can't explain. If you enjoyed this story and want more like it, be sure to stay with us. You won't want to miss the next mystery we uncover. The investigation officially closed. The files archived and forgotten. But Peter Bergmann walks still in every hotel register with a false name, in every purple bag carried by strangers, in every question that has no answer. He achieved the impossible, perfect anonymity in an age of surveillance, complete erasure while being completely watched. The purple bag was empty when they found it, but the cameras showed it full. How does something disappear while being watched by a dozen eyes? Now you know. It disappears by choosing to be nothing, by walking into water, cold enough to stop time, by becoming the space between heartbeats. The tide continues its rhythm. In, outside, carrying secrets to depths we'll never reach. And somewhere, in the space between waves, Peter Bergmann finally rests, not as someone, not as no one, but as the question that haunts us all. Who are we when no one is watching? What remains when everything is taken away? How much of ourselves can we carry? That's where we'll leave it for now. The purple bag, empty at last. The mystery, perfectly preserved. The man who didn't exist, immortal in his absence. You're safe now. Sleep well. I'll be here when the lights go low again.